1 year ago today, a pro-Trump mob stormed the United States Capitol to interrupt the formal certification proceedings regarding the election of Joe Biden as president and Kamala Harris as vice president. 5 people were killed and numerous people were injured. Among the dead were Trump supporters such as Ashley Babbitt, who was shot dead by a Capitol police officer after trying to scale a broken door, and Officer Brian Sicknick, who died of injuries relating to a bear spray attack by a rioter. The event had numerous political consequences, such as the second impeachment of Donald Trump, as well as the formation of the US House January the 6th Committee to investigate what happened. So in this video, let's take a look at the charges laid against the January the 6th rioters and convictions of some of those who've already been sentenced. By the way, if you like our videos and you want more explainers like this, then be sure to subscribe to the channel to get more informed in 2022. So before we get onto the convictions, a bit on the investigation. The January the 6th investigation is the largest investigation ever done by the FBI, with 55 out of the 56 FBI field offices conducting operations related to the event. As of December 2021, 729 people have been charged with crimes relating to January the 6th, and the number is expected to go up. Out of those 729, about 50 have been formally sentenced. Those still awaiting trial include members of the militia gun rights group 3 Percenters, members of the far-right groups Proud Boys and Oath Keepers Adam Johnson, seen here carrying House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's lectern, and Richard Barnett, seen here with his foot on the Speaker's desk. The individual or individuals who planted bombs at the Democratic National Committee and the Republican National Committee headquarters the night before January the 6th currently remain at large. Anyway, the most common charge laid against the January the 6th rioters is the charge of entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds, in combination with disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building, and obstructing an official proceeding. The crime carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in federal prison, according to the US Criminal Code, although it's worth saying that most rioters haven't received the maximum sentence detailed. This is the case for Jacob Chansley, perhaps best known as the QAnon shaman. Mr. Chansley was sentenced to 41 months in prison after pleading guilty to 1 count of obstructing a federal proceeding. This was after Mr. Chansley was determined to have mental health illnesses, including schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression and anxiety, by prison officials. He's since denounced Trump and QAnon and has asked for an appeal court to rule on his conviction. Others that have been convicted include Paul Allard Hodgkins, who is seen here holding a flag at the Senate dais. He was sentenced to 8 months in prison in July 2021 for his actions of breaching the Capitol. Another is Jenna Ryan, a Dallas real estate agent who was sentenced to 60 days in prison after pleading guilty to parading, demonstrating or picketing in the Capitol. Ms. Ryan claimed that she did no wrong on January the 6th and said that her blonde hair and white skin would get her off any crime. Other rioters have received longer sentences, usually for violent conduct during the riots. Scott Fairlamb, a New Jersey gym owner, was sentenced to 41 months in prison for violently attacking law enforcement during the riot. The prosecution was initially seeking a 44-month sentence, and it's assumed that Mr. Fairlamb's prison length will serve as a precedent for 120 people indicted for violent actions directed at police on January the 6th. People have also been convicted for threatening members of Congress online, as is the case with Troy Smocks, who was sentenced to 14 months imprisonment for making online threats at members of Congress on January the 6th. The longest prison sentence made to a January the 6th rioter so far has been 5 years. Robert Palmer, 58, seen here throwing a fire extinguisher at Capitol Police, was sentenced to 63 months in prison for his actions. These included throwing a large plank of wood, a 5-foot-long pole, in addition to throwing the aforementioned fire extinguisher twice at police before being hit with a rubber bullet. Mr. Palmer had falsely claimed in an online fundraising plea that his actions were defensive measures against the police. Palmer expressed regret in his statement, saying that he felt ashamed by his actions and that he was lied to by those he trusted. Ultimately, the judge ruled that the gravity of the crimes and his initial failure to accept responsibility for his actions weighed into his sentence. The youngest rioter sentenced has so far been Grayson Courtwright, a 23-year-old from West Virginia. The University of Kentucky student stated that she was not the same person after January the 6th and that the events completely changed her. Her actions on January the 6th included breaching the US Senate chamber and grabbing a members-only congressional sign, as well as posting on social media that she couldn't wait to tell her future grandchildren about the event. She was charged with one count of entering and remaining in a restricted building and was sentenced to 30 days in prison, 1 year of supervised release, and 60 hours of community service. The long and short of it is that the rioters have received a wide range of sentences. For the most part, non-violent rioters have received sentences less than a year long, while the precedent for their more violent counterparts has been between 3 and 5 years in jail. Somewhat unsurprisingly, this has sparked quite a bit of debate. Some people think that 4 years is far too short a sentence for directly attacking America's democracy. On the other hand, some people think it's unfair to blame the rioters. After all, if you really took what Trump was saying at face value, that the election was being stolen and the mainstream media were lying about it, then storming the Capitol isn't an entirely irrational thing to do. If we do buy this argument, then January the 6th shouldn't be blamed on the rioters, but on Trump and the US's polarised media landscape. Anyway, whoever you consider to be at fault, and whichever sentence you consider appropriate, it's worth keeping in mind that January the 6th was at least in part a symptom of the fact that America's media landscape is more difficult than ever to navigate. And if it wants to avoid another event like January the 6th in the future, it needs to address this first. So anyway, what do you think? Have these sentences been fair, or have they been too much? Are we making too much or too little out of January the 6th? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you for watching. As always, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a new video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible, and if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then sign up by clicking the link below.